أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. My dear fellows and students and my colleagues and those who are appearing in examinations, primary examinations or part 1 examination, part 2 examination, both. Now this is a lecture actually is according to the need, because in our country, you know, that is this country is in the tropical zone, and it is one of the country in which the very high heat waves are there in the country let's start from the end of the April to the September. It means that about 4, 5, 6 months, more than that. It means around on the average in the 8 months it in a hot period, very hot period. Rather we can say in some parts of the country, and remaining one in few places for the northern areas, and in some other places also the heat production is, or the heat effects in the body are not very frequently seen in these areas around the Kashmir, in the northern east part of the country. But other parts, extremely you can say in the south part from Balochistan or the southern western part, they have got the effect of the heat are less than the other parts of the Balochistan. Now overall Sindh or Punjab in the zone, coming in the zone, mostly involving this type of a problem which we want to discuss. It is slightly a long lecture because it is a common problem. You have to understand this problem, that is heat stress and stroke. I am Professor Syed Ali Haider. I am Global Visiting Honorary Professor of Medicine without any fame or without any economics. So I am delivering these lectures for the humanity. So I will talk in English and as well as in Urdu so that the people know the problems they are facing. Before starting this lecture, the importance of this lecture should be clearly understood. I have seen one case in which when I was doing in final year, and I saw a person who was sitting very quietly without any noise or whatever shouting is there around in the casualty. You know that there are a lot of noises in the emergency A&E. But the person who was sitting very, very in the corner, and he was sitting very quietly, and he doesn't speak anything. I went there and asked him what is the problem. He answered very, very low tone that he is suffering from high grade temperature, and probably because he was laborer and he belongs to the Pakhtunkhwa, and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and he was working as a laborer in Karachi. So he was drowsy and he cannot speak properly, and because I'm in final year, I called to the CMO that he is sitting and he's got a higher temperature, probably more than 104. He said that okay, I will check because I am doing the other emergencies as well. So the patient was sitting for half an hour to 1 hour, and afterwards when we reached the patient with the CMO, because I was in final year, and my the supervisor at that time in the casualty was CMO. That was the CMO. He had to guide me in this case. When he reached there, the patient doesn't respond at all, and his heart was stopped. There were definitely signs of death were noted, and the AD ambulance picked after half an hour to the place because there was no attendant with him. So I asked the my CMO what happened. He said probably he has been septicemia or septic shock occurred, and he died because of this. Because why you have not responded when I called you at that time? He said that I was busy in injuries. There are cases of injuries are coming and CVA, etc. And the people who are shouting and in pain and other, you are attending them. But the person who is sitting very calm and quiet in the corner of the wall, around near to the wall, he was not shouting at all, and he was very, very quiet. The temperature which I took at that time 105 plus 105. So it was definitely a high temperature, and the diagnosis and the cause of the death was he made at that time. I understood that he got septicemia and septic shock. The patient cause of death was declared, and then leading to the cardiopulmonary failure, which is usually written in the death certificate. Now this is actually the example which I have given. In these type of examples, I also mentioned you there are a lot of people have missed this diagnosis. That there are something more than environmental effects, environmental medicine that is called. One is the heat, stress and stroke. Heat stress, the effects of heat in the body. One part of the country, he said that I want to complain about the temperature here, high temperature. He's sweating. Another part near the Kashmir, the person is in freezing point, and he was shivering because of the low temperature. So the temperature is a problem in the different zones of the country. On the one side there is a very high degree of the environmental temperature, one very low temperature, 4 degree, 2 degree, 1 degree, even in May also. July, May to July again. Remember that there are two extremes of the heat loss and the heat gain. Both are seen here. He gained the environmental temperature. He lost to the environment. The body temperature is moved to the environment. That's why there are two extreme conditions there. The importance that incidence, a severe heat wave with temperature as high as 49 degree, it is 49 degrees centigrade, and it is around, in some part of the country it is 110 and 115 even, struck the southern Pakistan in June 2015. It caused the death of about 2,000 or more than that, because these people are reported people. So I'll add 1,000 more from the dehydration and heat stroke, mostly in the Sindh province, Dadu and Larkana and other as well. These are the zones of the Sindh, and again in the Punjab also. But the important thing is that the former capital city of the country and the Sindh province capital is Karachi. In Karachi, there are many deaths in 2015. The heat wave was also claimed the lives of zoo animals and countless agricultural livestock. They died. Chickens and the other, buffaloes, they died because of the high temperature. The reason is dehydration, basically, leading to the heat stroke. The event followed by a separate heat wave in neighboring India that killed 2,500 people. People, they died. And in the May 2015, And because of the Rajasthan and other part of the Agra and in the zone of this Delhi and the in the same in 2015, a lot of deaths have been reported from this. And every year there are definitely incidences uh, of, uh, uh, of the death occurs because of the people who had got the effect of the heat and they died or become more sick during this these months. In USA, even in a country like USA, because some part of the USA have got the high temperature in 2 to 3 months, they said about 150 deaths have been reported every year, about 150 to 200 deaths. In spite of they have got all facilities of the primary, secondary, and tertiary healthcare facilities are up to the mark in these countries, in USA, in Canada, and other. These one should understand the effect of this the heat as the physiology of the thermoregulation. The normal body temperature is 98.6, that is 37 degrees centigrade, and the normal range of the temperature is between 97 to 99. The range between the day and night. Actually, the rectal temperature is 0.5 degree to 1 degree Fahrenheit. This is the temperature you are taking from under the tongue. But here in the rectal temperature is concerned, it is 1 degree, 0.5 degree Fahrenheit to 1 degree Fahrenheit above the oral temperature. Above the oral temperature. So it is the core body temperature. Indirectly, it is reflecting the temperature inside the body like liver. The core body temperature remain almost constant because of the negative feedback mechanism, but the skin temperature from shell temperature, that is variable. It is you are taking from the under the groin or in the axillary temperature. It is you should add 1 degree because this is standard one under the tongue. Under the tongue it is 97 to 99 degrees. So you add it 1 degree Fahrenheit, and 1.5 should be added at least to the rectal temperature. For example, it is 99, it means 100 or 100.5. So body temperature, this is the normal body temperature. One should know that these are the ranges. And temperature homeostasis. Keep the body temperature within a very narrow range of the already described it, 97 to the 99 degree Fahrenheit. Temperature above this denature the enzymes and block the metabolic pathways. Because of the high body temperature, it will affect the enzymes, specifically speaking the liver enzymes and the enzymes which are present in the cells of the other part of the body. And they block the metabolic pathways like the Marrow pathway and the beta oxidation pathway, etc. In this temperature of higher temperature, 104, 105, the liver will not work, and even the integral will not work normally. The temperature below this, you can say that in the case of the hypothermia, that hypothermia means it is below 95 degree Fahrenheit. Slow down the metabolism and affect the brain. So both conditions are extremes of it, hypothermia and hyperthermia. The heat balance is simply that heat which is producing inside in your body, that is the heat production should be equal to the heat loss. So it will be equalized. You equalize, balance it. The heat production is called thermogenesis and heat loss is called thermolysis. Now this you should remember that it should be equal. And one of the most important solvent you have is water. Remember this. Water constitutes about 60% of your total body in the male and 55% in the female. And there are a few examples of the water function that it regulates the body temperature. But its other important function is moistens the tissues in the eyes and the nose and the mouth, and it protects the body organs and the tissues, and carries the nutrients and oxygen to the cells, and lubricates the joints and other mesothelial systems, and lessen burden on the kidneys and liver by flushing out the waste products. It is a solvent, and it should flush out the kidneys, it should flush out the liver, and making more bile and bile, so that there should be no stasis in these organs. Remember, if the water is evaporated, and that is called dehydration, it means that you are going toward the hemoconcentration. So the viscosity of the blood will be increased. The viscosity of the blood is increased, it means that there are many parts of the body. We have got a subclinical type of problems in the vessels, and they are prone to develop the ischemic heart disease, they are prone to develop the cerebrovascular accidents, etc., or even the prerenal type of the failure, renal failure, prerenal failure. These are the possibilities if we lose water, which is needed, is not equalizing actually the requirement. What is the requirement of the water? Before going forthwith, it is remembered that it is at least 35 ml per kilogram body weight per day, at least in the normal, environmental temperature, about, let's say, it is 95 to 98 degree Fahrenheit, and then it is balanced like this. 35 ml per kilogram body weight is still needed. It means that the person who has 70 kilogram should take water about how much? 2.7 liters per day. And you should add for every 1 degree Fahrenheit 10 ml requirements are needed, then 45, then 55, then 65. In our zone of Sindh, we need in May, June, July, August, September, we need 70 milliliter per kilogram body weight per day. But in the certain zones like in Dadu up to Sibbi, on the other parts of the Sindh which are connecting with the Balochistan, it's very hot temperature are there. Their mean temperatures are noted at 114 degree Fahrenheit, 115 degree Fahrenheit. In Sarpargar, I have seen, I remained there for a few months, and I saw the temperature scaling. It is 50 degrees centigrade, about, you can say, 118 degree Fahrenheit. This is environmental temperature. The effects on the body should be there, of course. So the maintenance of the core body temperature is needed in these circumstances. And that is called what is called negative feedback mechanism. It should remain around 36, 37 degrees centigrade, or 98, around 97, 98. This is the temperature regulation. And how it is, you know that about it. Thermogenesis and thermolysis should be balanced. The thermogenesis, it increases, you are producing the basal metabolic rate, and specific dynamic action of food will increase the thermogenesis. Activity of the skeletal muscles, shivering, exercise, chemical thermogenesis like epinephrine, norepinephrine, thyroxine will give you more metabolism, and it will cause the thermogenesis. Brown fat, which are mainly actually fat, contains very less amount of water, normal fat. And the brown fat, the source of considerable heat production is abundant in the infants, like for example the buccal fascia, which is cheeks and neck areas. There are brown fats are present in the children, and they are the considerable very important heat production in the infants. So extreme of the age are important factor for the negative effects of the heat. Thermogenesis. Now thermolysis, how we loss from radiation, from conduction, from convection, evaporation, perspiration, respiration, and loss through the urine and feces. 3 to 5, 7. sources are there for the heat loss. That is thermolysis. Now this is because of the, I'm just pulling it out quickly because it is a very long lecture, otherwise it will take half and a half hours. I don't want to become a target for the questions for the other people who say usually that you are delivering lectures in hours. That is not tolerable to the person who are listening these lectures. The only thing which I will demand is that if you have this type of a problem, in a clinician, you should understand that the background knowledge is radiation, conduction and convection, and evaporation. Seen in this diagram, there are ways of the loss. Definitely radiation is very important. If from the environmental is high, it goes like this. Conduction and convection. It depends upon the Prevost theory of heat exchange, which was written in the physics, in the chapter of first year, I think, the heat, where it is written as the heat in the physics. That is called the Prevost theory of the heat. This is the theory that if there are two substances very nearby, one has got a higher temperature, it will conduct or it will convect the temperature to the other substance which has got the low temperature. So water falls from the higher to the lower side. In the same way, the heat will conduct or convect in this fashion. This is called the Prevost theory of the heat, which was actually in the physics in the first year science. At that time, nobody at that time was thought that it was again will become a problem in the medicine also. Yes, it is. You should apply the physics. You can understand well. And another one is evaporation, that is coming out from the body, and that is in the form of the water. That is all. And sweat glands are there. They are producing more and more water to the outside. They are sweating. Sweating will give you perspiration. It will go out from the body, evaporated like this, and in this way the temperature becomes lower down. So the environmental temperature depends upon the production of the heat, number one. Number two, again the humidity is important. The same thing is the humidity of the environment. If it is a very high humidity, again there will be some feeling of dysregulation of the temperature balance, and the people will affect in this fashion. Although the temperature is not much, 100 degree only outside temperature, but the humidity was more than 80%. The people will suffocate. Again, this theory will be the same one. That is, you will lose more and more and more water because of the sweat gland which have to produce the water for the negative feedback mechanism to normalize it. This is the role of the sweat glands. They are producing sufficient amount of sweat glands are put in the whole of your body, exocrine glands. They are producing water, and they come out from the holes here, or here, and they evaporate. Vasoconstriction and vasodilatation depends upon the sweat glands function, depends upon this. If there is a high temperature, there will be vasodilatation. If there is low temperature, there will be vasoconstriction accordingly. This is as simple as that. So thermoregulation is done in the hypothalamus. Remember, the organ is very important for many functions. It is called thermoreceptors, which will sensitize the temperature of the blood which is going, and these are the receptors which are present in the hypothalamus. They are thermoreceptors. They are connected with the two centers in the hypothalamus, anti-rise center and anti-fall center. So it will these centers will be stimulated accordingly. If there is a high temperature, it will low, definitely anti both temperature, anti-rise and anti-fall will be regulated by the hypothalamus. So in the very low temperature in the winter and a very high temperature in the summer, this hypothalamus should function properly. If it will not carry out its function properly, then there will be a problem. And one of my studies has shown that in case of the coronary, the hypothalamus actually is abnormally sensitizing the body temperature, not normally. These anti-rise and anti-fall centers, they are not function properly in the coronary, that is called post-corona or long COVID syndrome. I've seen these cases, about say 2% of these cases afterwards, that they have got the high temperature, about 100 degree, 101 daily. Now it is fixed temperature for them. If you take the temperature of these persons, 100, 100, 100, 100, 199, 100, 101, always they are in this. Because hypothalamus are falsely, taking the stimulation to conduct its function properly. The thermoregulatory responses include the autonomic. It will act through autonomic system, somatic system, via endocrine system, or the behavioral changes. This will cause this for the negative feedback mechanism by either the anti-rise center or anti-fall centers which are present in the hypothalamus. So there are feedback mechanisms from the receptor for the controls, and the hypothalamus effector are the target tissues which are producing the response in the body. From this overall vasodilatation, sweat gland functioning, more respiratory rate, or conserving water from the urine. When less urine is passed, in this fashion it is controlling, and less feces will become hard in these cases, because the colon will also respond. The primary function of the colon is to absorb water, so the feces will be hard. In this fashion, the effector will be sites are affected, and these are the target organs or tissues which are responding. Receptor, control center, effectors. The body temperature control system, the hypothalamus, I already said that it is about this mechanism which is in the hypothalamus, and it is the hypothalamus. Yes, it is the hypothalamus. A very, very small part of the brain had got a lot of functions to do. So the thalamus and hypothalamus, epithalamus, and the other part of the thalamus also. This is very important part of the hypothalamus, because it detects these changes in the body, temperature, and as well as other changes as well. It has got chemoreceptors as well, other than thermoreceptors. And also the other receptors are present in the hypothalamus. It senses well and acts through the cholinergic or the sympathetic system, are concerned alpha 1 adrenergic or beta 3 adrenergic, and the somatic nervous system through cholinergic nerves. They affect the target organs, effector organs, sweat glands, blood vessels, brown fat, skeletal muscle. Now, thermoregulatory responses: exposure to the cold was shivering, increased voluntary activity, increased TS secretion, increased catecholamines, and increased TSH and catecholamines vasoconstriction, and the horripilation, that is the body here will become erected, because if it will erect, then there are chances to conserve heat. the contraction of the pylori muscle, erector pylorum. This is a muscle which is present for the this activity of the erection of the hair in the body, curling up in the position of the patient. This is the position of the patient. He curl himself or herself to reserve as much as temperature as possible. Yeah, the people who are very very near to them, they just come near to each other, and that is why they conserve heat in this fashion. Again, you will add this also. That is, that if the two people are there or three people if they are stuck up, then they can conserve the body temperature. But opposite is the exposure to the heat. There is vasodilatation, they will be sweating, there will increase in respiration, tachypnea, and there is anorexia. Because of the body doesn't, because the metabolic activity is not going properly. They do not need it. This is the response from the central response. So anorexia is there, apathy will be there, decreased TSH secretion will be there, decreased catecholamines will be there. In this fashion, the body responded. Thermal regulation is through physical activity, metabolic heat production, and environmental heat. You are gaining this heat from physical, from the metabolic, environmental. The labor, which I have said, the story of the labor. A laborer at one time in 79 it is, 78. The story which I have, I told you before, because of the high physical activity of that labor, he produced the heat inside, and the environmental temperature at that time is 101, 102. Environmental. There is again the metabolic heat production is there in the body. Most of the hormones, they are in a positive response. Catecholamine, thyroxine, cortisol. These are the enzymes of they work when the body needs these in the hormones for the production of the heat. Heat transfer through radiation, conduction, convection, evaporation. Radiation is important. That is the mean heat loss at low temperatures. Low temperature, even the mean heat loss occurs. Mean heat loss occurs. In hot weather, causes heat gain. Again, it is because of the theory of radiation. And 100 to 250 calorie per hour heat burden from the sunlight possible. So if the exposure is more, there are more chances of the heat burden, and it will be absorbed by the body, and it will produce 100 to 250 kilocalorie per hour production of the heat inside your body, and it will come out as the higher body temperature, 101 to 102 to 103 to 104. The conduction from one part of the body to the nearby. Conduction by direct, and convection means that it's something is between, which is conveying it. Evaporation through the loss, primary loss in the high temperatures. 25% evaporation will protect you, and 100 degrees at high temperatures. 100% at the higher temperature it will work is the main mechanism for the conservation of the problem we have. And then evaporation. Another one is evaporation. We see depending upon the activity of the sweat glands, specifically speaking, from the lungs, tachypnea, which is you have said already, and conservation through the urine, and conservation of water through the feces. In this fashion, the heat is definitely evaporated, because that water which is you actually gained from less production of the stool and less production of urine will come and help in evaporation. And this way the temperature will be maintained, can be maintained. Otherwise, the patient will go into the different type of problems which we will discuss in the next lecture, because this is very important lecture for the part 1 examination is concerned, any part 1 examination. Now look this thing, the heat exchange mechanisms. Again I will say the conduction 33%, evaporation will take place 26%. If the air mean body temperature, environmental temperature 86 degree Fahrenheit, even in the winter, and the radiation 41 degree of the heat loss. But on the other side, if the air temperature is 95 degree Fahrenheit or 196, the evaporation will take part mean 90%, the conduction or convection 6%, and radiation is only 4%. So depending upon the air temperature or room temperature or environmental temperature, this heat mechanism can be understood easily. You can understand it. This is thermoregulation. Heat gain is equal to the heat loss. Heat loss occurs because of the convection or conduction or radiation evaporation. And this will, when the heat environmental temperature is more than skin temperature, when environmental temperature is more than the skin temperature, it will absorb through the skin. ऐसी ज़ुमरे में जो मैं आपको बात बता दूं कि लोग जो है ना कपड़े जो पहनते हैं गर्मियों में, जो कपड़े पहनते हैं ना, उनकी लोग सूट पहने हुए होते हैं, लोग जो हैं वो मोटे जो कपड़े कहलाते हैं वेस्ट कोट्स पहनते हैं, ब्लैक कलर के जो हैं कपड़े पहन लेते हैं. They absorb more heat and touches through the conduction or convection, and it transmits the environmental temperature to your body. रिस्की है ये कपड़े हों तो वाइट हों तो उसमें बहुत कम चांसेस हैं, वो इतना कंडक्शन नहीं कर सकते. बेहतर है कि अगर वाइट कपड़े पहने जाएँ, कॉटन शुड बी यूज अदर दैन दी अदर सिल्क. और ये इसमें जो है ना बिल्कुल जो है ना स्पेस जो है ना वो बंद हो जाएगी, और फिर इस तरह से जो है ना वो एवपोरेशन इफेक्टेड होगा आपका बॉडी का इस पार्ट, तो इसलिए डिफ़िकल्टी हो जाएगी. कुछ लोगों को आदत है कि वो क्या करते हैं कि वो तेल लगाते हैं जिसम पे फिर नहाते हैं. तो आप तेल लगाते हैं तो वो सारे के सारी डक्ट्स बंद हो जाएंगी, जितनी भी स्वेट ग्लैंड्स की डक्ट्स हैं वो ब्लॉक हो जाएंगी, ऑक्लूड हो जाएंगी. तो इससे एवपोरेशन इफेक्टेड होगा और हाई टेम्परेचर हो जाएगा. वो तो निकल गया, उसने कहा कि मुझे तो आदत है बॉडी में जो है ना तेल लगाता हूँ सरसों का, और उसके बाद 5 मिनट 10 मिनट के बाद वो इतने 15 मिनट 20 मिनट के अंदर ही वो काम कर जाएगा. तो बॉडी का टेम्परेचर बढ़ जाएगा. इट विल इंक्रीज टू 100 to 101 to 102 and 103. So this is the way the heat is lost. Acclimatization is the process for the people actually who have come from the far-flung areas. For example, एक आदमी कश्मीर से चला है, जहाँ उस वक्त जो टेम्परेचर है वो 90 से कम है, कराची वो पहुँच गया, उसको जो है ना अब यहाँ पे आके जो है ना वो बहुत खतरे में पड़ जाएगा, कि उसको एक्लेमेटाइजेशन के लिए 7 to 10 days चाहिए, कि उसकी वो जो सेंसर्स हैं वो तो हाइपोथैलेमस में है. इतनी जल्दी तो वो सारा का सारा मैकेनिज्म नहीं कर सकते ना. कंडक्शन कन्वेक्शन है, रेडिएशन है, ये सारे फंक्शन नहीं कर सकते वो. दैट इज़ वाई वो जो है ना वो रिस्क पे होता है, हाई रिस्क पे होते हैं वो लोग. लेकिन 7 से 10 दिन के अंदर एक्लेमेटाइज हो जाते हैं, अडेप्ट कर लेते हैं. नाउ हीट इंजरी, देयर आर 3 processes. Injury is concerned, 3 processes are there: increase heat production, increase external heat gain, and decrease heat loss. There are 3 processes. या तो हीट की प्रोडक्शन ज़्यादा हो जाए, और किसी तरह से भी हो बॉडी के अंदर, चाहे वो इंट्रिंसिक हो या एक्सट्रिंसिक. आपने एक्सट्रिंसिक होगी तो वो ज़्यादा इन्वायरमेंटल टेम्परेचर जो है आपका ज़्यादा है, उससे उसने गेन की है, ठीक है ना. ये बात हो जाती है, इसमें प्रॉब्लम ये आ जाती है। वो डिक्रीज हीट लॉस, आपने कपड़े पहने हुए हैं इतने सारे भारी भरकम, तो हीट लॉस का मौका ही नहीं दे रहे आप उसको, तो बॉडी टेम्परेचर तो ज़्यादा हो जाएगा। तो इससे फिर क्या होगा, इंजीरियस इफेक्ट्स आएंगे बॉडी के ऊपर। अब ये जो है ना नॉन एक्सर्जनल है, इसमें कोई फिजिकल एक्टिविटी नहीं की गई। क्लासिकल हीट इंजरी क्या है, द पीरियड्स ऑफ द हाई एनवायरमेंटल हीट स्ट्रेस, स्लो राइज इन द हीट बर्डन अलाउ वॉल्यूम एंड इलेक्ट्रोलाइट एब्नॉर्मलिटी टू डेवलप। ज़ाहिर है कि जब आप वाटर इवोपरेट करेंगे, सोडियम भी इवोपरेट हो जाएगा, क्लोराइड भी इवोपरेट हो जाएगा और पोटाशियम भी हो जाएगा। इसलिए इन पेशेंट के अंदर डिफरेंट टाइप के जो सिम्टम्स मिलेंगे। जो आदमी जो है ना, ये डॉक्टर ये सोच रहा होगा कि इसको जो है ना कोई और प्रॉब्लम है, लेकिन असल मसला ये नहीं है। असल में ये है कि बॉडी लड़ रही है नेगेटिव फीडबैक मैकेनिज्म से। और सबसे ज़्यादा रिस्की ये होते हैं कि एंड ऑफ द एक्सट्रीम एज जिसमें होता है, या तो बहुत बच्चा है छोटा, वो हाई रिस्क पे होता है, या एल्डरली है वो हाई रिस्क पे होता है। हमारे यहाँ ये हुआ है, ये याद रखिएगा, कराची में ज़्यादातर लोगों की डेथ हुई थी वो एल्डरली लोग थे। दूसरा मसला उस वक्त ये आ गया था कि लोड शेडिंग के प्रॉब्लम बहुत ज़्यादा थी। और जो बूढ़ा आदमी होता है वो हमेशा निगलेक्टेड ही होता है ज़्यादातर। वो अकेला कमरे में पड़ा हुआ है, दादा है, नाना है, खाना दे दिया आपने, ज़्यादा उससे आप क्या करेंगे। आप दादा दादा जो है ना, वो खाना दे दिया आपने, पानी दे दिया, यही देंगे ना। बिजली चली गई हो, पंखा बंद हो गया, यूपीएस भी जो है ना कितनी देर चलेगा, 2 to 3 आवर्स, 4 आवर्स, उसके बाद वो भी बंद हो गया। तो हमारी एक खाला मेरी अपनी और एक मामू जो बहुत बड़े यानी अहदे पे रिटायर हुए थे, दोनों की डेथ हो गई। जब सुबह उठे तो उन्होंने कोई जवाब ही नहीं दिया, दे डाइड। और वो जो सुनाने वाले थे, यानी 12:30 बजे उनको लिटाया था, पानी भी पिलाया था, सब कुछ कराया था, एयर कंडीशन भी चल रहा था, वो तो सब बंद बंद हो गया। 1:30 बजे रात के बंद हो गया। फिर उसने पंखा जो था वो चलता रहा यूपीएस पे, लेकिन वो भी 4 बजे बंद हो गया। अब 7-8 बजे भी उठे ये लोग, यानी खाला को उठाने की कोशिश की एक तरफ। तकरीबन 2 हफ्ते के अंदर ये 2 आदमी हमारे ख़ानदान में लॉस हो गए। 2015 की बात कर रहा हूँ। वहाँ पे उस वक्त हीट प्रोडक्शन जो थी एनवायरमेंटल बहुत ज़्यादा थी, लोड शेडिंग बहुत ज़्यादा थी। तो गवर्नमेंट भी रिस्पॉन्सिबल थी इसकी। आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि आदमी रिस्पॉन्सिबल था, उसने अकॉर्डिंग टू द नीड वाटर नहीं लिया था। ये सारे मसले मसाइल हैं ना। तो इसका जो इफेक्ट है वो साइकोलॉजिकल इफेक्ट्स आते हैं, फिर फिजियोलॉजिकल इफेक्ट हैं ही हैं, वो मैं पहले बता चुका आपको। और फार्माकोलॉजिकल इम्पेयरमेंट एट रिस्क, तो साइकोलॉजिकल जो है ये फिजियोलॉजिकल डिस्टर्बेंस है किसी, या फार्माकोलॉजिकल इम्पेयरमेंट है, अगर इनके अंदर बॉडी में मौजूद है तो उसको रिस्की, बहुत ज़्यादा रिस्क है कि हीट इंजरी हो जाएगी। अब ये यहाँ पे जो है ना, आपको सिर्फ ये बताना था कि ये मैकेनिज्म है बॉडी का, इस तरह से होता है। लोग बॉडी किस तरह से रिएक्ट करती है हाई टेम्परेचर पे या अगेंस्ट जो लो टेम्परेचर, कौन कौन से ऑर्गन हिस्सा लेते हैं, ये बात जहन में रखिएगा। अब हीट रिलेटेड इलनेसेस जो होती हैं, हीट एडिमा को, हीट प्रिकल हीट है, हीट क्रैम्प्स हैं, हीट टेटना है, हीट सिंकोपी है, सनबर्न है, हीट एक्सर्शन है, आप सिर्फ इसको जानते होंगे। और ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा कुछ लोग इसको भी मिला लेंगे चले। इसके अलावा इन चीज़ों से वाकिफ़ियत बहुत कम लोगों की है। जो आदमी जो है ना पूरे बदन के ऊपर जिसके दाने निकले हुए, वो तो डर्माटोलॉजिस्ट के पास चला जाएगा, इंटरनल मेडिसिन में तो नहीं आएगा ना वो। ठीक है ना, जिसको एडिमा हुआ है यानी बॉडी में, तो वो किडनी वाले के पास चला जाएगा, नेफ्रोलॉजिस्ट के पास। अब जिसको क्रैम्प्स हुए हैं बॉडी के अंदर, तो न्यूरोलॉजिस्ट के पास चला जाएगा कि कोई न्यूरोलॉजिकल डैमेज तो नहीं हो गया। टेटनी वाला जो पेशेंट है जिसके अंदर स्पैजम्स हो रहे हैं, वो मरीज जो है ना वो ज़ाहिर इंटरनल मेडिसिन में आएगा या कैजुअल्टी में आएगा, सिंकोपिक अटैक के साथ आएगा तो सीएन, फिर अगर न्यूरोलॉजी, सनबर्न के साथ आएगा तो फिर अगर डर्माटोलॉजिस्ट, हीट एक्सर्शन में आइए, हीट स्ट्रोक, ये इंटरनल मेडिसिन का पार्ट है कि हाई बॉडी पर टेम्परेचर हो गया, क्यों हो गया, क्या बुखार जो हुआ है इस आदमी को, तो वो क्यों हुआ है, कोई पैथोलॉजिकल प्रोसेस डेवलप हो गई है क्या इसमें, या कोई एनवायरमेंटल इफेक्ट डेवलप हो गया। ये तो फिर आपको तय करना पड़ेगा ना। आपको तो ये चीज़ें पता हैं बस, इससे ज़्यादा आप नहीं जानते। तो ये जो पार्ट लिखा था ये लेक्चर जो मैंने दिया है, जो अभी मैं दे रहा हूँ, डिलीवर कर रहा हूँ, ये मैंने दिया था सिंध गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल अहमदाबाद में। तकरीबन 1 घंटे का लेक्चर था। तो आधे घंटे में जो लोग थे जमाइयाँ लेने लगे, दे डोंट नॉट वांट द बैकग्राउंड नॉलेज, दे डोंट वांट टू लर्न। इसको जो है ना वो डायरेक्टली स्ट्राइक करना चाहते थे। नहीं कर सकते आप, आपकी समझ में ही नहीं आएगा कि मैकेनिज्म कैसे हो गया ये। Now, thing is that this is part 1 of my lecture, which I have given, just delivered to you. Tomorrow, inshallah, I will give the lecture number 2 of the same, topic, and please tolerate it for 40 minutes, 30 minutes more, so you can well understood how the people are coming to the casualty, how they are missing their diagnosis, and etc. etc. And a lot of problems are going in the high environmental temperature. وما علينا إلا البلاغ. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.